The news starts now.
Unrest on college campuses. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Pro-Palestinian protests at colleges across the country. At New York's Columbia University, Jewish students were told to go home over safety concerns.
Hundreds of tents are back on Columbia's campus. Last week, the university called in the NYPD to sweep the so-called Gaza Solidarity encampment. More than 100 students were arrested for trespassing, and those students were then suspended from school.
Fox's Alexis McAdams. Demonstrations also at NYU where they're blocking the entrance to the business school in New Haven. About 40 students were arrested during a protest at Yale University. In Boston, demonstrations at MIT, Emerson College, and Tufts University. This, as Secretary of State Antony Blinken says, diplomatic efforts to end the Israel-Gaza war continue.
We continue to work every day to bring the fighting to an end, to secure the release of hostages held by Hamas and other groups, to uphold international humanitarian law, to prevent further suffering, to create a path toward a more peaceful and secure future for Israelis and Palestinians alike.
Though the State Department says Hamas has moved the goalpost and changed its demands on hostage negotiations, which are being aided by Egypt and Qatar. Opening statements today in the hush money trial against former President Trump, where he's accused of falsifying business records to stop negative stories about him from being published. After the court was done for today, the former president again complained the trial was political.
This is a Biden witch hunt to keep me off the campaign trail. So far, it's not working because my poll numbers are higher than they've ever been because the public understands that it's a witch hunt.
Trump faces 34 counts of falsifying business records in a trial that's expected to last for weeks. The Supreme Court is considering whether cities can ban people from sleeping outside when cities have no shelter space. America is listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
What the cops know about a Monday morning shooting. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. A shooting on the near northeast side of Indianapolis Monday morning left one man dead. IMPD Lieutenant Shane Foley says it happened on Hillside Avenue near an apartment complex.
Preliminarily, detectives believe that this incident started with a disturbance between two individuals who are known to one another.
He believes that argument led to the shooting. Police think they've ID'd a potential suspect, but no arrests made yet. A missing kayaker was found in the White River Monday.
But the work is far from over. I'm John Herrick. The Indiana Department of Natural Resources says they found Solomon Shirley on North White River Park Westway Drive. Shirley was pronounced dead at the age of 22. Now they're trying to find another missing kayaker named Marcus Robinson, who they think is Shirley's cousin. Both of them went missing last Tuesday. Police say a 911 caller told them that they saw the kayakers capsize near the Belmont Beach area and not resurface. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
There are more than 100,000 jobs available in the state right now. Gary Dick with Inside Indiana Business tells WIBC's Tony Katz that state leaders are trying to fix that.
You've got a number of initiatives going on at the state level in terms of career pathways and a number of things that are going to take time to play out. I'm not going to solve the problem overnight.
Indiana's unemployment rate was at 3.5% for March, which is still below the national average. That is at 3.8%. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's your forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Clouds increase tonight with the potential for a stray shower as lows fall into the upper 40s. Tuesday starts dry, but then we quickly turn towards widespread rain in the afternoon and evening hours, with highs struggling to get into the upper 50s with breezy winds out of the south. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Stephen Deanna for 93 WIBC.
Hey, it's Hammer and Nigel for Window Nation. Now, you may hear the same offers from competing window companies. So why would you choose Window Nation over the rest? Window Nation is all about paying attention to detail. They measure their windows 3 times to ensure the proper fit. They have a 96% customer satisfaction rating, so they get the job done right the first time. And they are experienced. Each installer has averaged over 10 years of experience.
You could have the best window in the world, but if it's not installed properly, it's not going to do you any good. Window Nation, they use top-of-the-line materials to ensure that your windows are installed perfectly the first time, and they back everything with a lifetime warranty. To go along with all these reasons, there's also this amazing deal. Buy 2 windows, get 2 for free. And there's no limit. 0 interest or payments for 24 months. You can't afford to miss this deal. Go with the experts. Go with Window Nation. 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Help the planet and commit to less emit. For a limited time, Broad Ripple Service Experts is giving away free precision tune-ups. Proper HVAC maintenance and upgrades can help save on your energy bills while lowering greenhouse gas emissions. Let Broad Ripple Service Experts help your home and the planet with a free multi-point tune-up of your HVAC system. Call Broad Ripple Service Experts today at 866-EXPERTS or visit broadrippleheating.com to schedule your HVAC maintenance. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
We set out to be the very best of the best, and the past couple years we've actually achieved that. For all of the state of Indiana, we've been awarded the Dealer of the Year award twice now. Unlike other brands, that only gets handed to one dealer every year, and we're very proud to have won that twice.
Put the best to work for you at FamilyHVAC.net. Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey.
The Amber and Nigel show. All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening. Welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. Now, many of you are so inundated with news stories. Every 5 seconds, there's a brand new news cycle. Something else has happened. That it's kind of hard to keep track of the various things that have happened over the last couple of years. So step back in time with me just for a few moments, and we will enter a far, far away land back before 2020, in which there was a protest in Charlottesville. And in Charlottesville, there was this statue of Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general, that was going to be taken down. And on one side, you had a lot of BLM, Antifa-style Democrats who were chanting in favor of taking the statue down. And on the other side, you had a very mixed group. You had some kind of old school, like Reaganite Republicans and establishment individuals. You had some independents, you had some libertarians, and you had some MAGA Trump populist people, and then you had some masked neo-Nazi members who a lot of members on the right were trying to kind of cut off and shoo away. Just like over on the left side, there were people trying to shoo away some of the masked Antifa protesters. This came not too long after several Antifa and Proud Boy and Antifa and neo-Nazi groups, two different things, skirmishes on the West Coast that resulted in some fun levels of violence. So that was the scene. And Donald Trump went out a couple of days later and he made some comments about it because he was asked about the kind of the whole situation regarding statues being taken down. And Trump responded, and there was a small audio clip taken from that was broadcast all over the media that Trump had said there were very fine people on both sides of the protest. And therefore, Trump meant that there was the people that were on the side wing to take the statue down that were good, and then the neo-Nazis had some good people as well. Oh, and this was a hoax that still to this day Biden uses repeatedly. Except Trump didn't do that, because in that interview he said very explicitly, and I quote, "I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly," end quote. He went on to talk a little bit more about there being some good people on the left side of the aisle who, for good reasons to them, wanted the Robert E. Lee statue taken down. And this has plagued Trump a lot, so that now, whenever there is a new hoax that comes up that Trump said something that actually secretly is some kind of a dog whistle to somebody else, this gets brought up. Very fine people hoax. Well, today, President Biden had his very own, not very fine people on both sides hoax, but Biden actually stated that he condemned the anti-Semitic protests at Columbia University, and then he decided to condemn someone else, and it's quite interesting. So for those of you that may not be following, Columbia University and a lot of the other really rich, wealthily funded Ivy League schools, there are a lot of really angry, young, socialist, far-left liberals who come from $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes and are very far onto the left with their Harry Potter glasses and their short haircuts and their LGBTQ plus I2A pronouns and all of the other wonderful things. And the latest thing they are up in arms about is Palestine, which is a place in the Middle East that is fictional because Palestine is not a real country. But in the West Bank and Gaza, where the quote-unquote Palestinian individuals live, those LGBTQ plus super-duper progressives would be beheaded instantly. But they're very big fans of them because they're against Israel, they're against the West, and they're also against Jews and Christians. And so say no more for the socialist and the Marxist. So they decided to create their own little CHAZ. Remember CHAZ or CHOP, the little Marxist tent community in Seattle that was going to be showing us all how communism actually would work and it would be great. And then it fell apart because there was no food and the whole LGBTQ plus super duper pseudo Shia Muslim, pseudo Marxist, whatever garbage doesn't actually work. And now it's, been brought over to Columbia University. And there have been some extremely gross and anti-Semitic things that have been said. There have been students preventing Jewish students from walking onto the campus. Individuals that have been holding up posters saying that those around them that were Jewish should be struck by missiles and rockets. And, of course, tearing down the American flag and chanting Viva Viva Palestina and cheering wildly as the American flag hit the ground. So, normal things. And President Biden today was kind of forced to talk about this because it's such a contentious issue in his campaign. And here's what Biden had to say.
And the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses.
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
Wait a minute now. Condemning anti-Semitic protests, okay. And then on the same side, in the same frame, also condemning those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians. Well, first of all, that's just actually condemning the pro-Hamas protesters twice. He just doesn't know that's what he's doing. What he is trying to do, and what the Biden administration is so terrified of, is losing the Dearborn Muslim Michigan vote. And by the way, when I say the Dearborn Muslim Michigan vote, I do not mean Sunni Muslims. Sunni Muslims are a group of individuals on whom I have had a lot of excellent interfaith debates. And while they are indeed Islam, I know, shocking, a lot of very excellent people in this world and in this country are Sunni Muslims. Shia Muslims are something different entirely, just like the Westboro Baptist Church is not at all associated with like the Southern Baptist Convention. It's a totally, totally different group of people. And President Biden wants to court the large group of those individuals up in Dearborn, Michigan, who, were chanting death to America. And also the large numbers of youth Gen Z voters coming into this election, at least he thinks, that are so desperately in favor of Hamas. And so he says, well, I also want to condemn the people who don't know what's going on with the Palestinians. He can't even cite anything specifically because he can't actually condemn the actions of those who are encouraging and praising and saying, long live Hamas. Ilhan Omar, for example, the great brother marrier, whose daughter was arrested, by the way, for being one of these protesters. She said this today, quote, "Throughout history, protests were co-opted and made to look bad so police and public leaders would shut them down. That's what we're seeing now at Columbia University." And then she, again, proceeds to downplay everything. That is absolutely hilarious. It's all whenever the right has idiots at a protest who get too rowdy and do something stupid, it's always condemnation of the whole group. Oh, tut-tut-tut. How dare the right allow such horrible. But whenever Ilhan Omar is praising Antifa or the BLM protesters or the pro-Hamas protesters or whatever member is a part of that brown, green, red alliance, oh, just a few bad actors that come in and make us all look terrible. Oh, sure. By the way, here's the the current president of Columbia University telling a group of individuals, this is Minouche Shafiq, this is her just 2 weeks after 9/11 saying that terrorism is just a form of protesting.
So it's not, you'll always have individuals who will have extreme views. But what's really troubling in the region is that there's actually quite a broad base of society which has some sympathy for the terrorists. Not so much because they approve of their methods, but it's a form of protesting against a system which is not delivering for them on the economic or the political front.
Oh, guys, the reason that these Hamas people are just promoting terrorism isn't because they're bad. It's just because they have economic and political concerns. That's who Biden is going after. Good luck, by the way. Gen Z doesn't come out to vote, and they're certainly not going to come out and vote and go through all of that while dealing with their anxiety attacks and super need-a-dog depression nonsense that they got from their gender meds that morning. So, best of luck to you. We're going to talk a little bit more in this show about what Americans are really concerned about going into this election. That would be a serious update on illegal immigration and what the government of Mexico is doing regarding blackmailing. That's with Todd Bensman of the Center for Immigration Studies, followed by some good stewardship with Stephen Perkins of ACC. Stick around. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Like magic, it appears in the sky. A rainbow. Somewhere over that rainbow lurks not bluebirds or dreams. Hidden behind that beauty is trouble.
Get a cone tornado right there.
Don't be fooled.
Tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornadoes.
Oh my gosh, look at it. Oh my God.
This spring, depend on your severe weather station.
Baseball size hell.
93 WIBC.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
A sleep divorce happens when bed partners sleep in different rooms because one of them has a snoring problem. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, but it is unfortunate, especially when there are simple, non-surgical solutions that can put snoring problems to bed for good. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula with Advent, where our exclusive focus is the nose and throat, which is exactly where your snoring problem is coming from. If 20 years ago you told me I'd be helping relationships flourish again, I'd have laughed. But in many cases, that is the case. Because helping your bed partner stop snoring so the two of you can get back to sleeping together again can do just that.
Go to adventknows.com today to schedule your appointment and learn more about our effective breathing triangle solutions. Because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Breathe well with simple solutions. Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventKnows.com.
Results may vary.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and the allergy season is getting a jump start on all of us, and we really need to get ready to fight back. How about having Zero Res help you take on dust and dander and allergens and even bacteria in your carpets with a great spring deal? Get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $139 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning to get that true spring cleaning feel. It's unbelievable and kind of scary just how much of the uglies are in our carpets, and it's because those carpets are the largest air filter in the home. The Zero Res service is easy to line up. You can go online at ZeroResIndy.com. Do the scheduling at your convenience. And don't forget the ZR water difference. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals, leaving things really clean. Now mention WIBC, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $139, plus you'll get $75 off the air duct cleaning too. Call 317-388-5141 or book things online at ZeroResIndy.com.
Are you struggling with anxiety, depression, or other mental health issues but feel like you have to keep it together and tell everyone I'm fine? Hi, this is Pastor Micah Beckwith from Life Church, and we want you to know you're not alone. At Life Church, we are in the middle of our 5-week series called I'm Not Fine, to bring awareness and understanding to mental illness. Through powerful stories, biblical teaching, and community support, we'll explore what it means to honestly face our struggles and find healing. Join us at Life Church as we start breaking down the stigmas together. Go to lifechurchin.com for our service times and locations.
Say hello to the power, performance, and precision of Ram trucks at Kahlo and Noblesville. The strength and style of Ram, combined with the experience and service you'll only find at Kahlo.
Right now, save up to 15% off MSRP on select in-stock 2024 Ram 1500 Tradesman 4x4 models.
See the massive inventory of Ram trucks at hellokahlo.com or visit the new showroom on State Road 37 in Noblesville.
All rebates and incentives included in final discount. Stock number KCN 240157. Price excludes tax, title, and fees. Not all buyers will qualify. See dealer for details. Offer ends 4/30/24.
Tune in Saturdays 9 to 1 for the Home and Garden Show for advice and fun. Brought to you by Michaelis. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
There are screening tests to catch cancer early. Visit cancer.org/getscreened.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. Well, while everyone seems to be arguing about everything on the House floor except for the issues that are critical to Americans, there are some groups that are keeping a close eye on the situation at the border so that people can be, as up to date as possible. Kind of a crazy idea in and of itself. Today, to discuss this from the Center for Immigration Studies, we have the Senior National Security Fellow, that's Todd Bensman. Thanks for joining us this evening, sir.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So let's get right down to brass tacks. Tell us about what's going on at the border at this exact point in time. I understand you just got back from another trip down.
Well, if I had to pick something, and remember, every time I go down there, there's some new big happening at the border. But if I were to pick something that really stands out, I would have to say that it's Mexico's crackdown that's in play all over the country. The Mexicans have gone medieval on illegal immigration down there, and they have really kind of reduced the numbers that are actually reaching the border by significant percentages. This is part of a deal, in case you haven't heard about this. I've written about it. Not very many people have written about it, but 60 Minutes recently did a piece on it. And so it got finally broader renown that, everybody remembers these huge numbers that were coming across in November, December, thousands and thousands just pouring right through the barbed wire into Texas. Standing on the riverbank waiting to be brought into the country. International media coverage, no good for Biden re-election campaign. Terrible. Driving the polls down. So Biden went down and had a big state visit with his counterpart, President Lopez Obrador, about immigration. What about immigration? They didn't really say. Right around Christmas time, and then that was followed up by separate state visits by Blinken and then by Mayorkas, and their foreign delegation has been in D.C. a bunch of times. And the next thing we know is Mexico has deployed 35,000 Army troops across the northern border, as well as thousands of immigration officials, officers, state police, municipal police, and have been just rounding up immigrants by the thousands, forcing them onto buses and shipping them 1,500 miles to the Guatemalan border and then forcing them to stay there to apply for these special visas now that take forever to get, right? In addition to these internal deportations, I don't know what else to call them. They're like internal deportations. The Mexicans have been shutting down access to the rail cargo lines, which had played a huge role in bringing, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands to the borders in large numbers so that they could overwhelm the Americans. That's off limits now in large part, not totally. So the numbers are way down. And I was just over there in Juarez for 5 days and drove all around Chihuahua State and watched this whole thing play out. It's real. They're doing it. They've got the immigrants on the run down there. They're still making it in. They're still evading. Enough of them are still evading and getting in that there's still 4,000, 6,000, 7,000 a day coming in, but it's not the 13, 14,000 and 15,000 a day that we were seeing in November and December. It's way down compared to those heights. I guess you would say it went from ionospheric to merely stratospheric.
So that's one of the things that really kind of piques my interest, because there are a few things right now that both sides, I would say, of the political aisle seem to have forgotten. One of those is that the United States is not the only country on earth with agency, that there are other national actors out there whom, again, the foreign aid and the U.S. foreign policy is supposed to be cajoling, manipulating, brokering deals with in order to benefit the interest of the American public, whether in resources or in safety. And to see that now when it actually matters, you actually have Biden send his delegation down and bring their delegation up and actually cut some kind of a deal. Now, look, as you said, Mexican President Lopez Obrador, in the public, he's been talking about getting some big cash deals and also some other aid supplements from the United States is almost what's the word? Let's see if I can reach into my Spanish knowledge here. Almost like a bribe to shutting the border. But it's kind of crazy to see the Mexican army finally start to take this seriously. Do you think that this is going to be enough to make a considerable difference in how President Biden is viewed in the immigration polls leading up to the election?
I do. I think it has the potential because remember, I think what was driving those polls were more than anything else, Fox News drones hovering over, 5,000 milling about illegal aliens that just crossed and being processed into the country. Mm-hmm. Those were really compelling, hit you in the gut, hit you across the nose video. The media seems to show up when the numbers crest over about 8,000 a day. Now I'm kind of starting to kind of figure this out as I go. When it's 9,000, 10,000, 11, 12, 13, 14,000 a day, you've got major media down there. But when they can tamp it down to like 7,000, 6,000 a day, there's no media.
That's so wild.
I think that's the policy goal here is to get this tamped down to below media interest threshold. Maybe I'll just coin that, MIT, media interest threshold. Going to be around 7,000 or less a day. They seem to go home. But I don't think this is going to last. I think it's an election year thing.
Well, of course, it smacks of that, doesn't it? I mean, and that's kind of the question I have to build off of your MIT. Would be the AIT, the American interest threshold. Right. And how long, I mean, again, for the first time that we've seen in several decades, if not since modern polling began, that the economy in several major national polls and in several battleground state polls was knocked out of its number one slot as the primary concern for Americans, whereas immigration was topping the charts. And look, of course, there's a whole, kind of a veneer that this comes across as an election year shenanigan because, again, why didn't you do this stuff before? Do you think that perhaps there will be some pressure from the far left in Biden's camp, who, again, has a considerable weight and interest on driving his rhetoric on the campaign trail? Do you think that they're going to be able to get him to either apologize or perhaps not be as strong in his negotiations with Mexico? I guess I'm kind of curious to see is where do you think this goes, and just your best guesstimate between now and November? Can this hold, or do you think that it's going to fall apart again?
Well, Obrador is asking for $20 billion. And he
as you do, just casually.
Right. But he didn't just do it casually. He did it on 60 Minutes.
Right.
And that's been aired. And in case anybody was thinking he meant something else, the reporter followed up with, that sounds like blackmail. And he responded, well, I just say what I think.
Yeah.
And think what I say. And that's just to like it or lump it. He certainly didn't deny it or seek to clarify, and hasn't since. He left it there as a bribe, So,
right.
And what happens if they don't give you $20 billion? The answer was, well, then the migration flows will continue.
Right.
Nice border you got there. be ashamed.
Yeah, be ashamed if something happened to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where we are now. The U.S. media, other than 60 Minutes, has been very quiet about what's going on with Mexico in the crackdown. They are certainly not tying it to the election campaign or to a Biden diplomatic deal for his election prospects, or a lot of the violent kind of actions that the Mexican military is undertaking down there. I mean, they're beating up immigrants, they're pulling them off of trains, they're forcing them with batons onto planes and buses and things that would never happen here in the United States. And you're not really hearing the U.S. left or groups or advocacy groups say anything about it. And I think, or even the U.S. media, about the really hardcore, I said they're going medieval on the immigrants, and they completely are. That the medieval behavior is ordered by the American president would not go down well with his progressive left. It just wouldn't.
Again, given the attention that's turned at the time towards kind of the situation over in the Middle East and how that's playing out, I can see why they wouldn't be such big fans.
They're giving him a pass for it, at least in public. I don't see too much of anything, and he likes it that way because he's already got them pissed off about Israel, supporting Israel, and he certainly doesn't want to add this thing, the border, to his Mexico crackdown to the Israel thing.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Todd Bensman from over at the Center for Immigration Studies. Thanks for stopping on with us a little bit and clarifying, again, something that's kind of largely left to the media, but is still very prevalent on American minds. We'll be back in just a moment. This is the Tony Kinnett here on 93 WIBC.
Bill Frazier is a Hoosier, an American who has served our citizens with distinction, determination, and a wisdom that comes with years of experience. Now, Bill Frazier is ready to dedicate his life to serving you as your next congressman in Indiana's 6th District. Bill Frazier is a true conservative. He'll fight for a secure border, smaller government, and lower taxes. He will be a tireless advocate for the Second Amendment and the rights of the unborn. Bill Frazier is a veteran paratrooper, a successful farmer and business owner, a licensed commercial jet pilot, a man with experience. When President Ronald Reagan needed expert advice on agricultural issues, he called on a young Hoosier farmer, Bill Frazier. Ronald Reagan trusted Bill Frazier. You can too. Vote for experience and determination. Vote for the true conservative Hoosier. Vote for Bill Frazier for Congress.
I'm Bill Frazier, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Bill Frazier.
Guys, when she's ready, shouldn't you be ready too? There's good news. For 20 years, Boston Medical Group has delivered a simple and effective solution for ED, proven to work when all else has failed. It's ICP, also known as ED shots. ICP uses a custom blend of FDA-approved medications specifically formulated to restore healthy blood flow where you need it most. ICP works for 98% of men in just a few minutes, regardless of age or medical conditions. Previously acquired only by an in-person visit, our telemedicine platform now brings this virtually 100% effective solution to your doorstep nationwide. You can be ready for her with confidence. Call 800-940-2900. The first 100 patients will receive 10 extra doses of ICP medication for free when you sign up for a treatment program today. Call 800-940-2900. That's 800-940-2900. Or visit bostonmedicalgroup.com.
How would you like to get a 13% bonus when you invest your money? Not only do you get a 13% bonus, but you'll also get an annual return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years. Hey, it's Hammer and Nigel. Discover how you can get an upfront 13% bonus plus a competitive annual return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years.
Learn more from the retirement guy that we trust, Bill Demery here in Indy. Call him today, 317-648-5120. This was such a no-brainer for me. Why wouldn't you do this? You get an upfront 13% bonus plus a competitive annual return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years. And it's backed by one of the largest insurance companies in the world. Bill Demery, 317-648-5120. That's 648-5120. Past performance is no guarantee of future returns.
Your bathroom is boring and basic too. It seems like there's nothing you can do. A better bath awaits. You'll feel brand new, relaxing in a world of peace at the Bath Authority.
Hey, it's Rob. Right now, schedule your free in-home estimate and get $1,000 off a new shower or bath, plus 36 months of interest-free financing. Restrictions apply. A better bath awaits.
You're our priority at the Bath Authority.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Want to explore using Mitsubishi electric ductless mini splits to heat and cool your home or business? Learn more at absolutecomfort.org. That's absolutecomfort.org.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. That's 93.1 FM out of Indianapolis. The live streams on Twitter, X, and YouTube, and the podcast services, everywhere else. Well, if you are part of a major metropolitan area, then you have likely experienced the wonders, the joys of climate change protesters blocking the streets, being really obnoxious, maybe spray painting things orange for some reason. And you may think, look, I like the environment, but this is really obnoxious. Well, have we got the organization for you that isn't obnoxious about good stewardship for the environment? I've followed them since Benji Backer founded the organization, the American Conservation Coalition, AAC. Stephen Perkins joins us this evening. How's it going, Steve?
I'm doing very well. Thanks so much for having us on the show, and happy to be described as normal and sane and all that good stuff.
Well, honestly, today, that's the biggest compliment that you can give any individual or organization. Like, they don't bother you and embarrass you. It's like, wow, I tell me more. So
that's right.
Tell us more. Tell us more about ACC and what you guys do.
Yeah, so ACC was founded in 2017 by a small but determined group of young conservatives who approached the environment for a few reasons, and the reason why it was important for them. Number one, we just care about the environment. We're a group of people. We're outdoorsmen and we're sportsmen, and have been engaged in that. Everyone at ACC has a personal story of why they care about environmental issues. But also because we are conservatives and we're engaged conservatives, and we want the conservative movement to be successful. And we saw climate and the avoidance of it, and conservatives not engaging on climate in a productive way as one of the biggest barriers to the conservative movement resonating with younger emerging voter blocs. And so since then, we've been able to do a lot of work. We have a lot of members of Congress on our side. As an example, we've been able to advocate for a lot of great legislation, most of which originated and all of which was co-sponsored by conservative members of Congress. And so we've been able to really have a great impact of changing the narrative and getting conservatives a seat at the table.
And that's really important, because there's a difference between kind of like a climate change alarmism, which says that, look, we need to stop everything and burn everything down, and this Teddy Rooseveltian idea of environmental stewardship, where it's like, look, this is the land that we've been given. Let's keep it pristine. Let's make sure that everyone can enjoy it. And also because it's a matter of pride that the from sea to shining sea does in fact remain pure. I got to say, I really do love that you actually have a staff and a team that does take the outdoorsmanship seriously in their own lives. And that's whether that's swimming around in the Everglades to mountaineering and fishing. It's nice to see, because I see in other climate organizations or in organizations about the environment where the most experience they have actually in nature is like a trail in LA
Yeah.
Maybe. And the trees are all imported in plastic, like it's a 1960s Christmas tree. And so it's good to see, because again, I'm a guy who spent most of my life outside with dirt under the fingernails. An organization take it so seriously that it's a part of their work is honestly something I think that's to be revered. I wish other organizations actually took it that seriously.
Yeah. And, I think for us, we always come back to this idea that the people who are closest to the ground are the real climate champions. And so we talk about farmers and ranchers and hunters and anglers and all these people, landowners, people who oversee forest land, like outside of the Beltway, outside of our major cities. There's a lot of important work being done in DC, but we find it really important to sort of touch grass, right? And remember that, that the people who actually have experience with this stuff, they live on the land. They live out in what I would call real America, kind of the center of the country. It's people care about the environment. They may not call themselves an environmentalist. They may not call themselves concerned about climate, but they do from the perspective of wanting to preserve and conserve what they grew up with, and wanting to make sure that they pass down a better world for their children and for future generations. And especially as conservatives, that should resonate with us. Protecting and conserving, it's right there in the name, what we've been given and what we're going to pass on to future generations.
And that's really the key, isn't it? And passing on to future generations has an idea that you're not burning everything down in order to create some type of idealistic utopia that comes from these climate change activists, but saying it's conserving what we have and making things better for all parties involved, so that future generations can enjoy this perhaps in even a slightly better way than we're enjoying it now. The best case that I can possibly think of regarding the work that you guys do is your support of nuclear energy. Again, the idea that, look, I don't think that the kinds of perhaps fossil fuel-based industries that are providing power are the best way either, but that's also because I think those fossil fuels should be saved and used for other important industries that are not as easily converted, whereas nuclear energy is excellent for the environment. Again, with left-leaning, they're not conservation groups. They're like these climate alarmist groups. You say nuke and like their faces go green. Also happens to be the shade of uranium that works so well in nuclear industry. So why are you guys so pro-nuclear?
Well, because simply put, it is the most reliable, most powerful clean energy source out there. We embrace an all the above approach. And so that means wind and solar, nuclear and geothermal and oil and gas and all that good stuff. But when you're looking at what makes up an energy grid, you need sources of power. And the reason why natural gas and coal and traditional forms of energy are so powerful is because they provide a ton of power output to the grid with a fairly minimal physical footprint, right? We talk about carbon footprint, but a physical footprint. And nuclear is one of those. I mean, it takes, with one nuclear plant, you would have to have, I think don't remember the exact number, but thousands of acres of solar farms and all this stuff. And so when you look at conserving just land conservation, nuclear is the most compact and efficient form of clean energy. And then overall, in its life cycle emissions, you're talking about 1/3 fewer emissions than solar. So it's even cleaner over its entire life cycle than solar. And of course, whenever the biggest misconception is that the smoke that comes out of the nuclear reactors is polluting. The smoke, right? It's just water vapor. So
steam.
Steam. So we just see it as a common sense thing. And to your point about the alarmist, I'll admit it is tough sometimes to have a sober discussion with nuclear with someone who is against nuclear. Because the facts are not on their side. And it is a lot of, it feels unsafe. I don't want it near me.
Haven't you seen those glowing green barrels of toxic waste that they drew in cartoons?
Haven't you watched The Simpsons? Yeah, exactly.
As a former science teacher, I'm bothered because I wish it was that cool.
Sure, yeah.
I do. Yeah.
I mean, when you look at some of the leading nuclear influencers, so to speak, which is a kind of a cool job, I guess, to have, there was a pregnant woman who recently went and toured this nuclear facility, and people were all upset. I can't believe a pregnant woman would go tour a nuclear facility. And she's like, this is one of the safest activities I can do. Like, the drive to get here was more risky to me than being next to this stored nuclear waste that's in these very thick concrete barrels that go underground. So, the facts are just not on their side. I understand, in a sense, where some of the hesitation comes from, but people just need to get to these places, right? People need to experience the technology firsthand. They need to go tour a facility and realize that this is as close to a godsend technology as we're going to get. And also, the technology's been just advancing so much recently. We now have advanced nuclear and small nuclear reactors. There's a lot of options out there.
Take decades to convert, like some of the old solar plant conversions and things like that. It really is incredible. We're on with Stephen Perkins from the American Conservation Coalition, ACC. One of the things I want to touch on here at the end is, again, you guys are not only dabbling just in conservation policy and environmental policy, but also energy policy as well. And again, when a lot of groups that are claiming to be oriented towards environmental advocacy, they talk about energy, they just focus on the impact of energy on the environment itself loosely, and that's it. Whereas, again, you understanding that energy policy affects every single American and really the globe as a whole, because of the resources and the materials have to come from somewhere. And what really sells me in how the work that you guys do is that you talked about like a whole grid approach. You're thinking about the grid, the power grids, the three main ones for the United States, how they function, what they're built from. You talk about that all over approach so that it's stable, so that it's diverse, so that it benefits all parties. That's what advocacy is supposed to look like. I'm just saying, I'm going to make the point. You guys aren't paying me to have you on or anything. I'm just saying that's one of the things I enjoy. I mean, I guess you're the one that's supposed to be selling this, but I'm really just trying to make sure that people know more about ACC and what it's doing.
For sure. Yeah. So we do advocacy from a local level to a federal level. And, people could go to our website, acc.eco, and check out opportunities to get involved. But our big thing is, let's look at the pros and cons of everything. To your point, a lot of climate groups will only focus on the cons, but life is about balancing choices, right? If I'm making any sort of decision in life, I ideally am looking at what is the benefit versus what's the negative effects, and what's going to be the most effective there. We have to do that with energy. We're talking about keeping homes heated and cooled, right? We're talking about quality of life for people. We're talking about national security. Do we want to be reliant on countries that despise us and are conspiring against us? And that goes beyond energy. That goes to supply chain and everything as well. And also, if America wants to be, if we are truly in a leadership position around the world, we should be the chief exporter of energy, especially clean energy, clean technology, all of these things that are going to allow us to be competitive on a global stage. The final point I'll make is that sometimes, we saw this during the Biden administration where he would announce that, we're no longer going to drill here. We're no longer going to do this in America. And climate groups go, yes, that's great. America's finally getting off all we did was shift our reliance to other countries who produce energy a lot dirtier than we are. So
absolutely,
we've adopted this out of sight, out of mind mentality, morally troubling, but also in terms of American leadership, really troubling.
Absolutely. I think it's really spot on. Stephen Perkins over at the American Conservation Coalition, that's acc.eco. Thanks very much for hopping on with us.
Thank you, Tony.
We'll be back in just a second. This is the Tony Kennett Cast on 93 WIBC.
There was a scandal. You lost your law license.
Tony Katz.
They threw you out of the attorney general spot. And this, running for governor, is a revenge tour. True or false?
Gets beyond the talking points.
Let's talk about the knock on you. DC was too hard. This is way easier. You got the cash. It's no brainer. Let's go be governor.
With the GOP gubernatorial candidates.
It's not a serious thing. It's a might as well just stay in the game thing.
Stream all the videos at WIBC.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
If you love spring and Indy but hate the paint, do what Lynn did. She called Rhino Shield.
It is a single-wide manufactured home. We moved from our home, which we had the Rhino Shield on. Rhino Shield was what we were going to do. That was no question. We knew we were going to do it.
Rhino Shield's a ceramic coating. It's not paint, it's better.
The Rhino Shield representative came and we discussed what we wanted done. And this time, we had the roof done as well.
Now, you can have the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
Even the people that have been a little younger than us have said they don't have to worry about getting just an everyday painter because Rhino Shield has the 25-year warranty, and we truly believe in this product.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino!
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
There is no reason to live with achy joints. There's no reason to live with pain, and there's no reason not to seek out help. That help is at QC Kinetics in Eagle Creek, in Greenwood, and in Carmel. Under the leadership of National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, QC Kinetics can help you get rid of joint pain with no surgery, no drugs, and no steroids. That's right. These are no longer your best options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative treatments that deliver lasting results. We're talking natural biologics, using your body's own power to repair and restore damaged joint tissue. Talk to QC Kinetics today. Get a free consultation. They even have Saturday hours, so you have no downtime at work. Call QC Kinetics today and tell them Tony Katz sent you. QC Kinetics is in Eagle Creek, in Greenwood, and in Carmel. Call today. 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. QC Kinetics. 317-559-PAIN.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest. When plumbing problems arise, you need them fixed fast and right. The LD Smith Plumbing crew knows how to put water in its place. We do it all, from the kitchen sink to delicate repairs in historic homes. And we'll always give you honest advice at a fair price. So if you're worried about the cost of plumbing repairs, call today for a free second opinion on a competitor's estimate.
LD Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
Hey, Pat Sullivan here for Hope Plumbing. Spring has sprung and summer is right around the corner, which means family and friends and food galore. Do you know if your garbage disposal is ready for all that fun ahead? During the month of April, my friends at Hope Plumbing are offering a $100 off an upgraded garbage disposal. That's right, upgrade your current garbage disposal and get $100 off. Call Hope Plumbing or visit them online at hopeplumbing.com or give them a call at 641-HOPE and get ahead of the summer fun.
This is Danny Reinhardt with Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Give us a call for any of your heating and cooling needs. We're here to serve you. 317-745-4526.
Reinhardt is your trusted local independent American Standard Air dealer.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Feels like I'm losing it. I got this
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. Just a few minutes left in today's show. For the rest of this week, I will be in Washington, D.C., getting a few things taken care of there. Tomorrow night, WIBC during this time is going to be airing the gubernatorial debate over at IUPUI. So maybe there might be a live stream. Maybe there might be a little something here because the gubernatorial debate absolutely bores me. It's the same index cards with the same answers on it every single debate in a row. But we'll see. Maybe we'll mock it live. Who knows? There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do. So that brings me to Dallas. I was down in Dallas to speak at a convention. I was on a panel after I had spoken with a couple of gentlemen that ran various newspapers and worked in various kind of international journalist organizations. And one question that hit me that has kind of stuck with me a little bit since I wanted to share with you guys was, what do you see as being the biggest threat to journalism and to kind of getting the news out in general? And the answers that came down the line were money. Oh, there's not enough money. Oh, we need lots of money. The next answer was, oh, there are too many crappy and awful big publications that are getting too much attention. And then the third guy basically said a blend of the two. And it's frustrating that no one really starts to care until the New York Times picks up a story, which I don't think is factually accurate. And then the question got to me. And my answer was in firm disagreement with the other three. And to which I said the biggest threat to journalism and to individuals that are working in journalism or that are running outlets or papers or whatever is this strange idea that we need to keep doing things the way we did in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, where you have these full-time newspaper regional journalists that are covering high school sports and they're covering it at a full year salary. And we're going to pretend that that's the way that it all needs to be again. As though if you were to build an organization like the Indianapolis Star was in the 80s, or like the New York Times was, and just make sure it's fully funded, then all of a sudden that would fix journalism. And I'm here to break the glass a little bit. I'm here to pop the bubble. That is not at all a reality, and even if it were, that wouldn't fix journalism. There is a book that I really enjoy, and it might be here on my shelf behind me. I've taken it out so much. It's called Who Moved My Cheese, and it's a very common corporate kind of book that teaches you a few basic skills. But one of the lessons in that book that consistently hits me is that the individuals who don't keep moving to the next thing and don't continually keep improving and just kind of wait and pretend they can just keep doing the same thing forever, they will rot and die. And how I apply that is in journalism, if you continue doing the whole old newspaper Gannett model, you're going to fail. And that's what a lot of publications around the country are figuring out right now. So those who are adapting are succeeding, maybe. New ideas are that way. They have to be good ideas to succeed, and it requires timing and a whole lot of other nonsense. This also boils down to the Republican kind of divide right now between the 3 or 4 factions that are vying for control. You will notice that I have been kind of carefully avoiding talking about kind of one of the central schisms regarding foreign policy and interesting claims made by interesting actors over the last couple of weeks, if you follow politics at all. And there's a reason for that. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit soon rather than later. Probably not a conversation for today's show, but you have to keep moving and changing. And the failure of the establishment in the Republican Party to adapt has led to power being wrested from them. And they have only themselves to thank for it, for good and the ill. We will be back from DC later this week. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.